Let's face it, maintaining cooling systems requires a chemistry lesson that few equipment professionals have time to study. Service people have to do their job quickly so the equipment can get back to work. But checking and adjusting coolant chemistry takes time and a trained eye. It can be confusing, and the rush to get a machine back on the job magnifies the potential for improperly mixing the coolant. Failed water pumps, clogged cooling passages, and perforated cylinder liners, all the really expensive causes of cooling system downtime, usually result from a poorly maintained mix of additives in the coolant. Caterpillar designed a new extended life coolant, or ELC, that lasts for 6,000 hours, 600,000 miles, or 6 years with just one service interval to improve machine availability, save money, reduce waste, and to take the pressure off of service crews. In the process, they created a coolant that not only does a better job protecting components, but can cut coolant costs by about 50%. Cooling systems are responsible for absorbing and controlling 30% of the energy generated by a diesel engine. If the coolant doesn't do its job, engine temperatures rise, lubricant can begin to fail, and critical components like valves, piston rings, cylinder liners, and engine bearings can be damaged. Coolants rely on water because it absorbs heat readily and gives it up easily in the radiator. Water is mixed with ethylene glycol to keep the coolant from boiling at operating temperatures or freezing when parked in frigid environments. Traditionally, coolants have included a package of chemicals such as silicates, borates, nitrites, and phosphates to protect different metals found in the cooling system from various forms of corrosion. The primary cooling system challenge is cavitation. Cavitation is a destructive phenomenon that starts with the slap of the piston against the inside of the cylinder liner, causing the liner to vibrate. The vibrations create bubbles in the coolant on the other side of the cylinder liner, which implode violently against the liner surface. The water pump's impeller causes cavitation in the pump's housing in a similar way. Imploding bubbles can chip away at the surface of the metal. Controlling cavitation has become one of the most important cooling system issues over the past 10 years, as lighter engines have become more powerful. Film-forming chemicals were added to coolants to protect the components. The chemicals form a sacrificial barrier that imploding bubbles must eat away before they can damage the surface. Barrier-forming chemicals in conventional coolants wear out with use. Once cavitation blows a piece of the barrier away, the chemicals in the debris are inactive and circulate with the coolant as waste. To protect the metal that cavitation will inevitably expose, supplemental coolant additives, SCAs, must be added at 250 hours or 15,000 miles. SCA can extend the useful life of coolant, but in the real world it is seldom maintained properly, and poorly mixed additive chemistry can easily detract from the coolant's effectiveness. Additives deplete at different rates in different applications, and radiators with low coolant levels get topped off with everything from pre-mixed coolant to concentrated antifreeze to pond water. So the amount of additive needed is a moving target. Cooling systems become experimental.
Was a mechanic, would have to go out, he'd get his test strips, he has to dip so much and check it, and you rely on this test strip to turn different colors. I mean, there was a lot of guesswork to that.
Realizing how difficult it is to maintain coolant mix in the field, equipment managers began to demand a low-maintenance coolant to eliminate additive dropout, corrosion, and liner pitting. CAT responded with ELC, Extended Life Coolant, which needs only one chemical addition to perform consistently for 6,000 hours, 600,000 miles, or 6 years. ELC uses water and ethylene glycol for heat transfer and freeze protection, but the conventional additives have been replaced by organic acids. Carboxylates outlast traditional corrosion inhibitors because they do not have to react with metal to form a barrier layer. They remain active even after cavitation chips away the layer and reattach to the surface to continue providing protection. The formulation does away with silicates and phosphates entirely. Field tests suggest that ELC reduces water pump failures by up to 73% because there are no phosphates or silicates to combine with hard water and create the abrasive scale that wears out water pump seals. Less scale also means fewer thermostat failures. Removing phosphates dramatically reduces the bulky wastes in the coolant that have been known to clog radiator tubes. And ELC provides excellent protection for aluminum parts. Of course, ELC offers excellent protection against cylinder liner cavitation as well.
With the water that we had here being as hard as it was, I mean, we run into a severe cavitation problem, but with this, the ELC, I mean, what we're looking for is when we get to make a major tear down and do a major rebuild on an engine, that it's strictly liners and wear out parts, that we're not having to change a $30,000 block. I mean, on our estimation, I mean, we're looking at saving in a neighborhood of about $38,000 a year.
With longer intervals between coolant changes, there's less scheduled downtime and less waste to dispose of. One treatment of extender liquid at 3,000 hours or 300,000 miles replenishes coolant to perform through its entire life. So using ELC in heavy equipment eliminates 23 doses of SCA over the life of the coolant and eliminates one radiator flush and fill as well. In on-highway truck engines, ELC's extended service interval reduces the number of SCA treatments by 39 and eliminates 2 coolant changes. With so much less chemical to add, the risk of getting an overconcentration of additives, the kind that plugs radiator tubes or filters, is virtually eliminated. Scale is reduced, and the cavitation protection provided by combining carboxylic acids and nitrites performs as well or better than conventional coolant additives. CAT is demonstrating its commitment to the product by shipping all new machines with radiators full of ELC. The cooling systems already in your fleet can be converted easily to ELC. Just make sure you thoroughly flush all the conventional coolant and SCA before charging the system with ELC. The entire procedure is outlined in the Caterpillar Machine Fluid Recommendations Booklet, SEBU 6250. Only Caterpillar extenders should be used with radiators full of ELC because mixing ELC with other products shortens the coolant life. Only Caterpillar ELC or products that satisfy the CAT EC1 specification for premixed or concentrate coolants should be used when extending coolant service. You can check ELC's ethylene glycol concentration with your refractometer and adjust the level of freeze protection by adding ELC concentrate. Converting a fleet to ELC does pay off. In off-highway equipment, conventional coolant would have to be changed once to equal the life of a single radiator full of ELC. So you would pay less for premixed ELC over 6,000 hours than you would for conventional concentrate. Moreover, ELC only needs service once at 3,000 hours, compared to conventional coolant's 24 SCA additions at 250-hour intervals. Over 6,000 hours, conventional supplemental additives add up to almost 7 times more than the cost of ELC's extender. Total coolant savings amount to about 50% with ELC. When you factor in the labor saved for the service person and the service truck time, ELC's economics are even more convincing. But ELC's greatest value is measured in peace of mind, the kind you get from knowing that the coolant mixture in your machines is going to keep engines and cooling system components in great shape, and the kind that comes from seeing your mechanics use the time they had been spending chasing coolant leaks to prevent other kinds of problems.
You don't have the constant maintenance. Your mechanic, when he does a PM, I mean, he's working on the lubrication end of it. He's not having to get out his sample kits and guessing when he tries to read the strips or to do the drop analysis. He's not constantly adding conditioners to the coolant. I mean, you've just eliminated all of it.
ELC's benefits have motivated other manufacturers of coolant and engines to develop products that offer extended life and low maintenance. That's why Caterpillar developed its EC1 specification. EC1 describes the minimum performance that coolants must achieve to adequately protect Caterpillar engines for 6,000 hours, 600,000 miles, or 6 years. Satisfying the specification requires a 2-year field trial to assure real-life performance. Of course, CAT's ELC satisfies EC1, but it also meets the Maintenance Council's 329 specs and Navistar's and Cummins coolant requirements. It passes ASTM's automotive and heavy-duty coolant performance tests too. ELC satisfies the requirements for use in gasoline and natural gas engines. It meets the silicate-free requirements of many Japanese original equipment manufacturers and the phosphate-free requirements of many European OEMs, allowing you to stock one coolant to supply a mixed fleet, even if that fleet operates internationally. Less downtime, less coolant to buy, less waste to dispose of, fewer water pump and thermostat failures, no clogged radiator tubes or filters, no liner pitting. Caterpillar ushers in a whole new way to think about cooling system maintenance and costs with ELC.